This is training on Media Prowler and MMS. Media Prowler will be pretty straightforward. MMS, the training I'm going to do today, is strictly to show you how to extract an address list based on targets, demos, geographic targets. There is much more that you'll be able to do with MMS, but I'm going to defer to Jamie Schulteis from Marketing Solutions Group, who did the training for CP Ads, to do the full training on MMS at a later date. We'll start with Media Prowler. Media Prowler is the vendor that we have contracted with to use their database of email addresses. Media Prowler is a subsidiary of the Washington Post. The Washington Post gathered these email addresses, ironically, through their direct mail efforts. They have a huge direct mail division, and so over the course of years, have wisely gathered email addresses and have been able to append them with household addresses. Therefore, if you have the household addresses, like what we'll see in MMS, you can then buy data on those households, like when they use the credit card, stuff that they bought, and so forth. And so they've amassed this database that now includes an email address, it includes your street address, and it may include one or more characteristics based on what they've been able to find out about you. And so it is not a password protected site. Anybody can go to it. It's just that we have the exclusive reseller rights for anyone that wants to use this service in any of the counties where we have a publication. So I would advise you to do this in front of the client. I think it builds credibility rather than when you do the diagnosis call and they say, well, I want women 25-54 with kids, etc. You take notes, and then if you call them or you go back and say, well, we've got 3,000 email addresses. That's sort of suspect, but if you actually show them how you arrived at that, I think it will build credibility. So what you do is you go to MediaProwler.com, you click here, and you'll notice at the very top there's a B2C, which stands for business to consumers. There's also a B2B, where they've done the same thing with businesses. They've been able to amass business email addresses, i.e. contact emails such as me or Dave Fike or you or whoever, for businesses, and have been able to find out information about that business. And so I know one or two of you have already made calls where clients have expressed an interest in sending an email to other businesses, maybe like a photocopier company. So we have that available as well. But today, and for the most part, we'll be using the B2C, and so it defaults to that. And then you have a series of decisions to make. You step from left to right. The first decision is, how do you want to select the geography? And you can select it by any of these parameters. The ring radius is probably the one that you will use most often, because generally speaking, stores will be able to relate to, I draw from a certain number of miles from my store. So I'm going to click on ring radius. I'm going to unmute for a minute just to make sure everyone's cool before I continue. Any questions to this point? Any problems? Okay, good. So the first thing to do, of course, if you're using a ring radius, is to type in the zip of where the client is. I'll just use 21601, and which is Easton. And let's say that in my business, I draw from a 5-mile radius. And then you click on Add to Filter. And you'll notice over here, it's going to give me a count of the number of email addresses in the database that's matched the criteria, which so far is just 5 miles around 21601. Please note that this does not work in Safari. I'm using Chrome. You could also use Firefox, but you will get a blank or a 0 or an X if you try to use this in Safari. I don't know why, but it's not Safari friendly. So you have to use one of the other browsers. So once we have our geography defined, we then go to demographics. And that's going to bring up a bunch of different dimensions, gender. And so you want to sort of step through these and you'll see what the options are. Some have ranges, various things that you can build the filter. You obviously don't need to select all of these or even any of them. It just depends on who the client's trying to reach. So if we said female, you'll notice after I click on that, the count goes down to 1737. If I click on the marital status, and let's say I'm looking for women um, that are married, I click on marital status, you can see how quickly it drops, to which I could always go back and change my radius, get rid of the 5-mile radius. You see, once you take the radius off, it goes back to 9 million email addresses. And so let's say I want to change that to 10 miles and add to filter. So now it's going to give me 10 miles around the zip code and these two filters. Once you get to the point where you are done stepping through the demographics, behavioral, you'll see there, you just have to go through this and play with it. You'll see what dimensions or characteristics they've been able to obtain on these email addresses, interests, lifestyles, and then there are subheads under some of these. So you can get very specific, but keep in mind that the more you add, the smaller the count is going to be, and that in the base program, the base package, they get 5,000 email addresses. So uh, a maximum of 5,000 as part of their package. Um, so you won't be able to get real specific, but it is a way that you can target. Um, Once you are done building the filter, what you have here is this screen, right? I'm going to unmute everyone. Everybody with me so far?
Yeah. Yeah, I do one question.
Go ahead.
Oh, I have a question. When I did 15-mile radius, and the original count was 11,000 something, and then I checked female and male, and the count went down to 9,600. I was just wondering what the other category might be.
If you select on both, it's going to be an and equation, meaning that both have to be true. I mean, beyond that, you'd have to step me through it to see exactly what you've done.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So once you get, I'm going to unmute everyone because I'm getting some feedback, or mute everyone. Once you get to the point where you have your filter built, you want to take a screen cap of it. And the way you do that is if you have a laptop, you hit the print screen button key on your keyboard. If you have a Mac, it is Shift, Control, Command, and the number 3. And you should hear a little camera snapshot. And then go to Word.
Oh, Lord.
And hit Command or Control V. And that's going to put the screen cap of the filter that you've built. And that is one of two things that you will send to me. And then I will send to Media Prowler. And they will build the filter exactly as you have built it here. And they are the ones that do the fulfillment of the email. I don't push this out, they do. So you need to save this as whoever the client is on your desktop or in a folder, and then email that to me. And that's one of two things I need. So essentially, we are done with Media Prowler. We've built the filter that we've wanted. We got the emails selected that we wanted, and we simply do a screen cap of that, and you email that to me. The second thing that I need then, of course, is the email. And there are two options for this. One, the client emails me or you, and then you email it to me, the HTML code, um, which they can do in a Word document. And HTML code is this stuff right here. Um, this is all the code that makes up this email, HTML email that you're seeing here for a restaurant. All right. That's what all this code does right down here. And so literally they can just copy and paste it into a Word document. And I send that to the to Media Prowler. And then I will have a how-to with a form that you tell me what date you want them the emails to be sent and so on. I will get that out in the next day or two. So if they provide, and I'll have these notes for you to go over with them, if they provide us the HTML email, the code, any graphics that are in or images that are in here, like this truck, that that has to be hosted on a server that the public can have access to, or else it's going to show up as a red box. If it's behind a firewall where you need a login and a password, well, when the email comes to me, um, my email program is going to go try to get this image. SRC stands for source, and it's not going to have access to it if it's behind a firewall. And so it's not going to know what to put there. And so it's going to put a red X. So I'll have on this form, make sure that when they provide the code that they are aware that any images used must be hosted somewhere that it will download into a person's email. Okay. You're going to know more about email than what you've wanted to, I'm sure, after this. Or we build the email for them. I have selected 5 templates. Here's one of them. I will put these into PDFs and share them with you. And you can literally print them out and do it the old fashioned way where they mark it up just like you would an old fashioned proof. Instead of buddy up, slim down, I want it to say 3-day sale. And then instead of this graphic, I want you to put in a picture of, a bell or whatever, and my logo here. You can pretty much just draw it up, but they have to use one of these 5 templates. The reason for that is that I'm going to be given the code for those 5 templates. And I know just enough to be dangerous, as they say, in that I know how to change text and graphics. For example, where this says SIP, I could change this to come on over to Sheely's. And you see up here how it changes. Come on over to Sheely's. So I know enough to make changes to text, to images, and so on. Um, but I don't know how to build this email from scratch. So I've selected 5 of them that offer, pretty good variety, and then we will send them a proof back of the email. And right now, I am going to do that until I can figure out who I can offload the building to. We aren't making a whole lot of dough on these. Uh, if we think there's room to move the rate up, because literally I'd have to pay someone probably about 50 to $60 to build an email from scratch. If somebody just scratched out like they would a print ad, that's about how long it would take. And obviously we're not charging that much. So let me unmute everyone. For some reason, some are not unmuted, but and just take questions on the email process. Okay, floor is open.
You're sending us instructions on how to get the email code, the HTML code?
Yes, and the guidance about the images. If they send us the code, or if we're going to mark up, you're going to mark up one of the templates, it will be just like a print ad. You're going to have
Right.
to email me the picture that they want in, the logo, and so on.
Okay.
Dennis, on
Yes.
the screenshot aspect of sending the parameters,
Mhm.
it's like when you have multiple parameters, only one shows at a time, right? So
No.
if I put in education level, that shows. But then if I go to age, only that shows.
No, they're all
Oh,
saved in the right rail. Let me see. I don't think I closed out. Over here,
oh,
Mark.
okay. I see. I see.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I got it.
got it. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see on the right. Cool.
Any other questions on the Media Prowler? Just a quick recap. It's an open website, so you just go to it, step through it, left to right, on each of the up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you start with the geography and you go from there. MSA and DMA. MSA stands for Metropolitan Statistical Area. These are boundaries that the government has determined. And DMAs are associated predominantly. It's grown from broadcast, way back when it was over-the-air TV. It sort of morphed into these are areas where the TV station covers and radio stations. I have no idea what SCF stands for, so that one I can't answer. But typically, like I said, you'll use the ring radius. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, we're going to move on to MMS. All right, I'll have how-tos out for that. And Kim will be working on the overall scheduling of the packages and the how-to for that. Next, we're going to go to, can't go to that one. We're going to go to MMS. Here we go. Make this a little larger. You should all have your login. Go ahead.
What is the link for MMS?
It would be in an email I sent you. So it's a funky one. It's DB6. Here, I'll just copy and paste it to everybody. I'll resend that link. But once you get to it, you need to. I sent you an email with your particular password in. Your username. The password is Chesapeake, but your username is unique to you. And once you go in, you need to change your password. So I'm going to click on login, and this will be similar to how CP Ads works. Essentially, it's sort of the same thing. We're going to use MMS right now simply to propose direct mail marketing. And so this is a list of 60,000 addresses. Renee, I just ordered the other zips that I failed to get the first time around with CP Ads. So this number will go up, so you can sell postcards in your market areas. So what you want to do here is select. You're going to go to Counts and Lists, and again, you can either select by radius or by demographics. So let's go demographics. And you'll see that you have the ability, this should look very similar to CP Ads, to make selections of addresses. So if I click on city, I can then highlight by clicking on each of these. If you just keep clicking, for whatever cities you want, you can then go down here to the bottom and say get counts. And right now there are 5,160. And notice that there are also parameters for subscribers and former non-subscribers. The database that we sent them included both, and they were noted as such. So let's say that you've got a client who's running in print and they're running emails and online, but they really want to saturate the market. So they want to send a postcard only to non-subscribers. You could do that. Um, and select uh, only non-subscribers from the database. I beg your pardon. That the count's over here on the left, 10,001. Avery, that's the label type. Sorry about that. If you wanted to print labels, which you're not going to do. So we've got 10,001 total records, only non-subscribers for a bunch of these cities that I just randomly selected. You could then step down through here, home ownership. Let's say that we want to just select homeowners. And we could go down here and get counts. And if you can't see it, it's saying loading here. And now I'm down to 4,057 records. I'm not going to go through the rest of this. It's fairly obvious the way it works. When you are done, when you have everything selected, this one you need to download. I'm just thinking out loud here, or do I want to have you do a checklist of this? As you'll see, it does not show me all of the criteria. I think the way we'll do this is I will come up with a checklist of each of these options and have you check them off, because the next couple of steps will be complicated in that you'd have to download the data as a CSV file and send it to me. And I then send it to the find sheet. We are going to do the printing and the mailing here in Easton. And so I think I will put in the how-to that you will need to let me know the selections. You can certainly go in here to determine the count, and you can also do this in front of a client as well. But you will need to keep manual track of if it's a city or a county or what the criteria is. That way, I'll be able to replicate it, make sure I match the same total records, and I will take care of shipping this to the the find sheet. So that's the list part of direct mail. There's other stuff in here. Again, I'm going to let Jamie do the training on this, but I'll give you an idea of how else this can be used and how I've used it. In a lot of cases, you'll get clients who will say, "Well, I don't think women read your products," or pick whatever demographic or uh, characteristic. You could actually go in here and build that criteria, and say, well, here's how many of our subscribers are male or female, and or own a home and so on. So it's not just for direct mail purposes. You could use it. This gives you real glimpses into the makeup of our subscribers and our non-subscribers. So there are lots of marketing applications that don't have anything to do with direct mail that you can use this for. And that's why I want her to do the training on how you can build reports and analysis. And then you could go back to your client and overcome that objection, whatever that might be, or if it is what it is. If they're looking for people that are in the auto used market, used auto market, and maybe direct mail is the best way to reach them versus one of our print products. So it's a marketing tool, but we're initially going to use it to offer direct mail services. I'm going to unmute everyone and see if there are any questions on the MMS system. Again, this can be done outside. It's password protected, but it's not in our network. So you can do it in front of the client if you'd like. But you cannot download the data and share it with anyone. We lease the data. We own our subscribers. We don't own all of the characteristics that this company has appended to the database. We lease it on an annual basis. So I can't give it to anyone. That's why we need to handle the direct mail portion of it, which I'll get into next. Any questions on MMS? If not, that leaves us with the postcard. I'm not going to go into BrainWorks, but I will send on the how to schedule a 6x9 postcard in BrainWorks. David Altop has set up a modular size. Actually, there are two of them, 6x9 and 9x6, depending on whether the client wants the postcard landscape or portrait. And I'm looking for my sample postcard, which I thought I had here. We're having, here we go. If you can see this on the webcam. I had a sample printed up. I actually went into BrainWorks, scheduled it, went into eProofs, uploaded my layout to make sure all that worked. And Mike's team is going to print about 1,000 of these. The flip side will have our postal permit. It will have our return address. It will then inkjet on the address from the list. Mike's team will then take it to the post office and it'll be delivered. These are samples. We're going to have them inkjetted. I gave them a list just to use randomly so that you'll have samples that you'll be able to say, we can do this. And of course, the postcard promotes our direct mail services. And I'll have that to you hopefully in the next week or so. So there, I owe you a bunch of how-tos on Media Prowler, on the MMS as it relates to the 6x9. The pricing for the Media Mix Matters, excuse me, the Media Mix Matters packages ends next week, next Friday. After that, we go to a la carte pricing, which I will push out to everyone what it will be. People can buy any of these services separately. They could buy print separately, obviously. They could buy digital. They could also now just buy the direct mail and whatever counts that they want. They could also buy email marketing services, however many they want, based on their cost per thousand. Questions on anything that we've gone over today?
Dennis, we can sell that till the 9th, is that correct?
The package, yes, until the 9th,
Yes.
and then we close that out. And I do need contracts. I'm missing probably maybe 5. So if you have them and haven't sent them to me, please scan them in and get them to me. I'm trying to simplify the rate structure for this, and it looks like all that we've sold were basic packages, no enhancements, which for the purposes of rate building was probably a good thing because it'll change the way Kim has to set the rates up. And then it gets easy because we'll just build rate tables a la carte that are not tied to a package. So you can go out and sell any of these solutions, and then it will just bill it just like a preprint on a per thousand basis.
Dennis, I have a question.
Yes.
What's the turnaround time on the postcard mailing? So when we go into the system, we approve it. What's the turnaround for print and delivery?
I got to work that out with Mike, but I don't think it will be any longer than 2 weeks.
How long?
I don't think it will be any longer than 2 weeks. And I might be able to tighten that up a bit more. And it's likely where we're headed with postcards, if we sell enough of them, is that we'll do group printing, where I will give you a date each month and say, okay, November 9th is going to be the print date for any postcards that get mailed the following 30 days. The benefit of that is we reduce our printing costs, even to the point where an outside vendor might be cheaper, which of course that means more profit for us. But let's crawl before we walk on this and do some and make sure we don't have any bugs in our system, and then we'll try to do some ganged printing if we can. Okay, any questions about anything else? We had to postpone our regional sales meeting, so we'll play catch up in December when we also are hosting the other regional sales directors, as I mentioned in the email. But any questions? I think we've got pretty much everybody on the phone. Todd, myself, I think David might be on. So any questions about anything that's going on, what we've got going on? The most pressing issue today is home styles. We've got a couple of grand to go. So after we get off the call, if you would please look over your lists, the contracts. Let's try to get to that 10 grand number and move on. I will tell you that we had another fantastic month. We've made the regional goal. I looked at some numbers last night. I think 6 or 7 reps actually grew revenue year over year, which is fantastic. And that there were at least another couple that made budget. So all around, as I look at it from a region standpoint, I haven't drilled down to the zones yet. We had another very good month. So appreciate the effort. And now we ramp it up. This is November and December. It's the happiest time of the year. It's also going to be, of course, the busiest time. So unless anyone has anything else, I will stop recording. For anyone who wants to review this or that has missed it, I'll have it up at the YouTube channel and the department website.